My Best Friends Live in the Woods. The Adventures of Albert by Anne Michelle Mracek. Chapter 42. Opening a New Door. Mrs. Rabbit was enjoying her second cup of tea at the kitchen table. The cave was still full of flood guests, and Mother Skunk was enjoying the new normal. It was nice to have friends to share chores and conversations with. Who is coming to the party? Mrs. Rabbit was asking her. Party? Mother Skunk looked blank. You did invite everyone to the party, didn't you? Mrs. Rabbit said, nose twitching. Oh my gosh! I forgot all about it! We never made it to the Great Glen. The storm rolled in so fast, we ran straight home. Mrs. Rabbit nodded. Clarissa, Mother Skunk called over to the Queen. She was sitting by the fire, Anthena snuggled up next to her. Mrs. Rabbit and I would like to ask a favor. Clarissa turned her head and smiled. Of course, dear. How can I help? Mrs. Rabbit and I are planning a blessings party for Bluebell, and I would like to use the forest alarm to send out the invitation, Mother Skunk explained. Clarissa nodded. Of course. I'll be glad to send Owl and Tidal out, but you might want to postpone it a while. Folks are pretty busy with the rebuild, Clarissa said thoughtfully. Oh, she's right, Mrs. Rabbit agreed. Gabby, George, and I have been digging out and cleaning for days, and we still aren't ready to move back in. In truth, they probably could have moved back several days ago, but Mrs. Rabbit was enjoying the company and not at all that excited about living alone again. Bluebell stepped up and joined the conversation. It's fine. Why don't we set the date to 2 full moons? That will give Albert and Benjamin time to dig out our new house entrance. It would be fun to give everyone a tour of the new house as part of the party. Mother Skunk wrung her hands in frustration. She was feeling agitated and a bit guilty about forgetting the invitations. Oh, if you're sure it's okay to postpone, she said, looking at Bluebell, her expression worried. It's fine, Bluebell laughed. Everyone will enjoy it more once they're all settled back in and the flood is behind us, she assured her mother. And the dove cooed from the windowsill. She had taken up residence there, enjoying the warm sunshine that streamed in and the nice view. Also, it was a space no one else wanted, so she felt good about occupying it. I could spread the invitation, she offered. Clarissa smiled at her. Thank you. Yes, I suppose you could. And the dove cooed happily and strutted back and forth, her chest feathers fluffed out proudly. She had always wanted to be a royal messenger like Tidal. To spread official news, you need a title. Clarissa smiled at her, seeing how pleased she looked. Owl, could you come over here for a moment? She called to him. Owl was nodding off to sleep, perched on Mother Skunk's top shelf in the kitchen. He, too, had found a spot of his own. He sputtered awake, eyes blinking. Yes, madam, of course. He hooted and glided down to land next to Anthena. Clarissa leaned over and whispered something in his ear. Then Owl cleared his throat and in his loudest voice said, Presenting and the dove, also known as Shadow Force, official royal messenger for the Queen. Then he did a formal bow, sweeping his right wing down in front of his chest. Anne was so excited, her head was bobbing back and forth. Anne, could you fly over and join Owl? Clarissa asked. Anne immediately wigged over and landed next to Owl. Repeat after me, Owl instructed her. Anne nodded. I say your name.
solemnly swear to repeat the true words of the Queen.
Anne repeated. I, Anne, Shadow Force, solemnly swear to repeat the true words of the Queen.
Owl continued. I will never add, nor change, nor delete any word.
Anne repeated. I will never add, nor change, nor delete any word.
Owl continued. This I swear in front of all these witnesses and the great Creator who sees all.
Anne repeated. This I swear in front of all these witnesses and the great Creator who sees all.
Then Owl bowed to Clarissa and stepped aside. Clarissa stood and motioned for Anne to stand in front of her. I now declare you a royal messenger. You will take your rank third after Owl and title. You are sworn to service. Be faithful and true to your task, Clarissa said solemnly. Then everyone cheered as Anne flew around the cave ceiling, celebrating the joy of the moment. Penelope and Chad held hands and twirled in a happy dance for their friend. They scampered up to the windowsill and clapped and congratulated her as she landed. It's sweet how close they are, Albert commented to Clara as they watched them celebrating. I never dreamed we would invite mice as house guests, Albert laughed. They are no ordinary mice, Clara nodded in agreement. Mrs. Rabbit hopped over to the Queen. Your Majesty, she said, nose twitching nervously. Yes, Mrs. Rabbit, Clarissa said, her attention fully focused on Mrs. Rabbit.
Oh, could you please send Anne out with the blessings party invite? She asked, her ears wiggling back and forth.
Clarissa smiled. Yes, of course. What would you like it to say? Mrs. Rabbit looked over to Mother Skunk for help. Mother Skunk walked over to join her friend. How about blessings party for Bluebell, second full moon at the cave? All are welcome, Mother Skunk offered.
Perfect,
Mrs. Rabbit grinned. Oh, Anne, could you fly over? I have your first job for you, Clarissa called over toward the windowsill, where Anne and the mice were still celebrating. Anne nodded her head and winged over. Clarissa repeated the invitation and had Anne recite it several times to be sure she had it memorized. I think you are ready, Clarissa smiled. Albert, could you open the door for Anne? Mother Skunk asked. Albert trotted over and opened the door with a flourish. He waved his arm with a sweep, and Anne proudly flew out on her first mission, Penelope and Chad cheering. Anne spotted Mrs. Robin straight away and faithfully repeated the invite. Since when do you deliver messages? Mrs. Robin said, her head cocked to one side, a doubtful expression on her face. Where is Title? She chirped. Since I was sworn in this morning by the Queen, Anne answered proudly, her head held high, beak up. She nodded very professionally to Mrs. Robin and flew off. Well, I'll be. Mrs. Robin stood staring after her in amazement. Anne's next stop was to the badger den. In years past, she never would have flown there. They had a nasty reputation in the past of biting, but since their friendship with Jillian and the beavers, they were now a welcomed part of the community. The beavers had, in fact, moved into the badger's new addition, and the 5 children were playing happily in the grass outside the den entrance. Mrs. Beaver and Mrs. Badger were tending a small fire with a black cooking pot steaming merrily above it. Mrs. Badger looked up to see Anne gliding in. Well, hello there, Anne. Can I get you a tea or perhaps a bread crust?
Anne landed and strutted up very official. Not while I'm on duty, but thank you. Anne bobbed her head. Then she cleared her throat and said in her best impersonation of owl, "Blessings, pretty, for Bluebell. Second full moon at the cave. Welcome." She bowed with a flourish of her wing. Mrs. Beaver clapped. "Well done, I must say." Anne dropped the formalities and jumped up and down. "Do you think so?" she chirped excitedly. "I got sworn in this morning. I've always wanted to be a messenger. I'm ranked right after title," she boasted. Both Mrs. Badger and Mrs. Beaver clapped with enthusiasm. "You did that so well," Mrs. Badger grinned. "Now, how about that tea and crust?" she offered. "Oh, yes, thank you," Anne accepted. The three friends sat and visited over their snack for a while. Then Anne excused herself to continue her mission. "It's good to see Anne so happy." Mrs. Beaver smiled at Mrs. Badger. "It kind of reminds me of us," she added. "How so?" Mrs. Badger looked confused. "Well, Anne's good fortune with her new position only came about because of her friendship with that cute mouse couple," she explained. Mrs. Badger nodded, still not clear of her point. "Well, we are all safe and happy now because of our friendship," Mrs. Beaver smiled. "Good things bloom when planted in the fertile soil of friendship," she added with a nod to her friend. As Anne flew from nest to nest and talked to everyone she met, she began to feel like the task was bigger than she was. The forest seemed a whole lot bigger when you had to talk to everyone in it. It was past high sun and her throat was sore and her wings ached. Imitating Owl was difficult and a strain on her voice. "Maybe I should just sound like myself," she thought as she flew over and landed on the rim of a newly built squirrel's nest. Jimmy and his mother had rebuilt a fine new nest, just a branch or two higher than the one they had lost in the storm. The squirrel family were munching on dried mushrooms as a late afternoon snack. "Hello, Anne," Mrs. Squirrel smiled. She had a shriveled morel in her hands, crumbs dribbling down her chin. "Morel?" she offered, holding out her prize. "Oh, no, thank you. I'm on duty," Anne answered, this time being happy for an excuse to turn down the offering. Anne repeated the invitation, and Mother Squirrel clapped with delight, little crumbs of mushroom flying off her fingers. "Wonderful! We will be there. How very fun! It will be lovely to have a celebration after all this flood turmoil," she beamed merrily. Anne bowed her exit and flew off, thinking how glad she was that doves didn't eat dried mushrooms. She arrived back at the cave, silhouetted by an orange glow of the setting sun. She strutted up and pecked on the window. Mother Skunk trotted over and opened the window to let her in. "Mission accomplished!" She grinned at Matilda. "Everyone is excited about coming," she added. "Oh, splendid!" Mother Skunk clapped her hands. "Did you hear that?" she called to Mrs. Rabbit. Mrs. Rabbit had been helping Bluebell and Marigold put away the dishes from supper and hopped over to the window. Did you invite the beavers?" she asked anxiously. "And the badgers?" she added. Anne nodded. "I did, and they are coming," Anne assured her. "Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy!" Mrs. Rabbit's nose twitched in excitement. Clarissa heard them and walked over. "Well done, Anne," she smiled down at her weary messenger. "We saved you a muffin,"
she said, pointing to the table. A small plate was waiting with a tiny strawberry muffin sitting on its center. Penelope was grinning ear to ear. "I taught Bluebell and Marigold how to make them," she said proudly. Clarissa smiled. "We could serve strawberry muffins at the blessings party," she offered. "Oh, yes, please," Penelope said, jumping up and down. "I'd like that," Bluebell said, smiling at the tiny baker. "Well, then it's settled. Strawberry muffins it is," Mother Skunk said with a happy clap. She was very pleased to have the matter settled because she and Mrs. Rabbit had been at odds over the menu. And the dove was just happy to be pecking away at the muffin on her plate. It had been a very long day and she was very hungry. She had gained a whole new respect for Owl and Tidal. Wasting no time, Benjamin and Albert had spent the day digging out the new cave entrance. It had proven to be a much bigger task than expected, and by high sun, they had solicited the help of all the Skunk brothers who were old enough to use a shovel. Even George, the bunny, had pitched in. The rabbits seemed to be making little effort to move back into their home at the base of the walnut tree. Mrs. Rabbit went by every day to tend the garden, but came back every afternoon with a basket full of veggies for supper. Gabby and George had just merged into the gang. Honestly, Mother Skunk was enjoying Mrs. Rabbit's company and had not pressed her to return to her own home. At least, for now, the situation suited her. But I digress. The cave entrance was slow work. Turns out there were many large rocks and tree roots to be dealt with. What Benjamin had hoped would be an easy dig was more like mining. They had only pushed back 2 tail lengths by the time Anne flew back to the cave. The only break they had taken was when Bluebell showed up with a basket of strawberry muffins. They all gratefully propped their shovels along the wall they had created and sat in the shade to enjoy the offering. Bluebell eyed the opening and sighed. "Do you think it will be done soon?" she asked Benjamin. "I would like to decorate and move a few things before the blessings party." Albert chimed in. "We will make it happen for you," he grinned. "You are always doing things for us. It's our turn to do something to make you happy." Bluebell smiled at Albert. "Well, I should get back," she said, picking up the now empty basket. "Thank you, one and all, for the effort," she added as she trotted back to the cave. Once she was out of earshot, Albert said to Benjamin, "Good heavens, I hope we can do this," as he looked at their slow progress and shook his head. But by sunset, the orange blaze of sky was shining in on a sizable tunnel. The rocks were, thankfully, mostly on the outside. As they shoveled further into the hill, there were fewer and fewer boulders. The boys were quite pleased with their day's work. Benjamin was both relieved and encouraged. "The last thing I want to do is disappoint Bluebell," Benjamin was telling Albert as he walked down to the stream. A bath was definitely in order before they trotted home to Mother Skunk. Albert grinned and patted him on the back. "I think we'll have it done in just a couple more days," he encouraged. Nicholas chimed in. "We will all keep helping," he offered. "Yeah, of course," the others added in agreement. Albert was right. 3 days later, the boys were gathered around as Benjamin led a blindfolded Bluebell to the entrance of their new home. "You can take off the blindfold in 3, Benjamin told her. 1, 2, 3, he counted. Bluebell gasped and clapped with joy when she saw the new entrance. Not only had they dug a tiny entryway, but they had also built a front door. "Do you like it?" Benjamin asked, all grins. "Oh, darling, it's perfect," she said, clapping and jumping up and down. Everyone cheered. Benjamin took her by the hand and led her to the front door. placed her hand on the knob and said, "Open it." Slowly, she pulled the door open. It swung on sturdy new hinges and opened to reveal a tidy hallway. She had expected to see only darkness, but it seemed to glow from within. Confused, she looked at Benjamin. He waved her in with a sweep of his hand. "Enter your new home," he said, grinning. As she walked through the hallway, it quickly opened into a huge room. There was a round stone fire pit in the center, and a cheery little blaze was dancing light on the walls and ceiling. Then she noticed a shaft of light that seemed to come from above. "A skylight," Benjamin said as he pointed up. "Will it rain in?" Bluebell asked, a bit worried. "I don't think so. We built a roof over the opening," he said proudly. "It's wonderful, everything I had hoped for," Bluebell said, eyes filling with tears. She started to kiss Benjamin, then stopped, blushed, and glanced at her brothers. "We'll let you two explore," Albert said, smiling as he shooed the others out. "I will be so happy here," Bluebell said, clapping her hands. "Now, where were we?" Benjamin grinned as he leaned in for his kiss.
Chapter 42. Opening a New Door. Discussion and questions. Community cooperation and friendship. The way the forest communities support each other is truly a blessing for everyone. Having been through the trauma and destruction of the flood, they are recovering through teamwork to rebuild, living together in loving support to recover emotionally. They find comfort and relief in their closeness and their cooperation. Question 1. Have you ever been affected by a natural disaster? Question 2. How did you help others in your community, and how were you helped? The friendships between the badgers and beavers, and the dove and the mice, Mother Skunk and Mrs. Rabbit have all redirected their lives in a positive way. Question 3. What friendships have blessed and enriched your life? Question 4. How can you be a better friend to others? Question 5. Do friendships support safety and security?
I am the composer and performer for all the music in this video. Both audio recordings and the printed scores are available on mybestfriendsliveinthe.woods.com. I will provide the link below. The painted illustrations are also my creation. Prints are available on mybestfriendsliveinthe.woods.com. This is a novel. The chapters are meant to be heard in the order in which they were written. And while each chapter can stand alone, they do build as new characters are introduced and past events are referred to. Please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. The chapters are numbered, so if you're just joining us, be sure to go back and watch from Chapter 1